Joining us now is Miranda Devine, author of congratulations on the new book, Miranda, The Big Guy,
Thanks,
How
Charlie.
a President and His Son Sold Out America. But we're here to talk about a different potential criminal, and that is Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. So walk us through just some of the facts associated here, Miranda, and then I have a very specific follow-up question. There's a lot to do with upgrading first-class flights of Turkish Airlines. What are the details here?
They're pretty jaw-dropping, really. Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on charges that he allegedly took $10 million in illegal campaign contributions and bribes. And as you said, that includes, free flights and various other perks from foreign nationals. And it's interesting that he's claiming that he's been targeted by the Biden administration because he complained about, the city's just really awful illegal migrant crisis. It's cost the city more than $5 billion so far. But, when you look at the indictment, these are pretty serious charges. So I guess you could say both are true. Maybe the feds would not have investigated him if he hadn't displeased the Biden administration with his outspoken complaints. But they certainly did find something.
Yeah, I guess that was going to be my question, is he actually a criminal, or is it because he spoke out a little bit too much against the regime?
Maybe it's both. And look, he did speak out, but that's kind of all he did. What he was really saying was, we need more money from the Biden administration to be able to accommodate all these migrants, and we are a sanctuary city, etc. It's been a total disaster. And I think he's tried to be, he certainly was better than Bill de Blasio, who totally destroyed the city in his 2 terms. But he has sort of managed to get on top of crime and homelessness slightly. But the illegal migrant crisis came on his watch, and he really, while he sort of thundered a little bit, he really didn't do much that was concrete apart from accommodate them and put poor old New York into more and more debt. And he also is a bit of a man about town. He's always at Zero Bond, which is this nightclub downtown, seen, comes very late. He's a real night owl and is seen with the rich and famous. And he seems to love that, dresses beautifully. So he's a bit of a playboy guy. And so it's not all that surprising if these charges have any merit to see that he was, allegedly taking bribes.
Yeah, it definitely fits a pattern of someone who enjoys, let's just say, the high life of New York City.
Yes.
He's commonly known, as you say, going to bars and clubs and hanging around. And so just how chaotic has his administration been? Has he run this like a Tammany Hall, well-known, iron fist mayor, or is it kind of more of a guy that enjoys the trappings of being mayor and his office is kind of a mess?
It's really Eric Adams and his entourage. He just has these pals that are sort of look relatively shady, and they travel around with him, and they go to these restaurants and, dress slick like he does. And it doesn't seem to be Tammany Hall organised, I'll say that. And you can see how his associates have just been falling like kingpins lately with, there've been, I think, 6 resignations, as I said, the police commissioner, and then even the interim police commissioner just got raided last weekend. So there seems to be a lot of rot in his administration, and certainly there's ample evidence for the feds to go after whether or not, they're all innocent until proven guilty, and whether or not they amount to anything. I don't think that Eric Adams can get away with just saying, I'm being targeted because, I spoke up for the city of New York. There's a hell of a lot of smoke here.
Yeah, and what does it say, Miranda, about the lack of integrity for the justice system when we see this indictment? And my immediate reaction is, what is the motive? Not that Eric Adams is this terrible criminal, but immediately I say, okay, what is really going on here? Miranda, that's an unhealthy place for us to be as a country.
Yeah, it really is. I went through the same thought process myself because my initial reaction was, oh, of course they've targeted him, because remember, he was on a plane en route to Washington, D.C. last year to confront Joe Biden about the illegal migrants who were being, flown and shipped into New York, and the federal government was refusing to fund any of the costs and was actually threatening to make New York pay for a whole lot of previously, like Medicaid and so on, bills that were footed by the feds. And anyway, he was on his way there and he gets told that there's been a raid on his office, that his devices are being taken, and he has to turn around, go back to New York, and he's met there by the feds. So that seemed like it was a deliberate way of stopping him from coming to Washington and being a trouble to Biden. It's almost, I have no proof of this, but what it seems to me, just the pattern, the way that the FBI has been weaponized by the Biden administration to go after Joe Biden's political enemies, that it looks as if Eric Adams was deemed a political threat, so the FBI was sicked on him. They started searching, and then they found a whole lot of dirt, and the Southern District has come in, and prosecutors probably acting completely honestly and above board, as they would with any person who's discovered with all this wrongdoing alleged attached to them. They just are doing their job. So Eric Adams is at fault for having dirt that could be found, but by the same token, there are a lot of Democrats doing a lot of dirty things. You look at Joe Biden, you look at his family, all the influence peddling that they were up to. You look at Nancy Pelosi and others, including Republicans in Washington, who are making a fortune out of the stock market. There's a lot of shady dealings going on in politics that would not be tolerated in the private sector. I was talking to a banker last night, and he was saying, if he takes a meal or takes anything over $50 from a foreign national, he has to declare it. And that should be the way for politicians. It should be even more stringent considering the power that they wield, but it's not. And so therefore they get sloppy, and you have these situations where when the hammer comes down, occasionally, very occasionally, there's a whole lot of dirt to be found.
Yeah, and I mean, that's well said. And by the way, Miranda, I was joking around with Blake, who's here with me. When he was on that flight from New York to D.C., he was at Turkish Airlines. Probably not, but we shouldn't be surprised.
What's so funny in it is you find these instances, like he's going to France for something, but because he wants to fly on Turkish Airlines, he flies all the way to Istanbul, which, adds another 2,000 miles to the flight. And then he has to double back to France, and he has this long layover in Istanbul, and they have these text messages someone sends him. It's like, aren't you in France? He's like, oh, no, I got to do the layover in Istanbul first. We talked about this. And there's so much funny stuff in here.
And he did this because he would be, quote unquote, automatically upgraded on Turkish Airlines?
Yeah, basically. It seems like there was this arrangement where he would buy a coach ticket, and Turkish Airlines would come and they would, just, happily for free give him this $15,000 upgrade, and they would do this on every flight. And there's another case where a friend or a domestic partner of Adams wanted to fly to, they wanted to visit Easter Island in the Pacific Ocean. That's where those weird Easter Island heads are. Hard to get to. And they have the discussion where he's like, I'm trying to see if Turkish Airlines has a flight to Chile.
Yeah, and that not quite yet. So, and Miranda, I guess the thought process here is that, and by the way, just for the record, Turkish Airlines is an objectively great airline. I'm just going to say
almost all those foreign flagship airlines are amazing.
Qatar,
and then you fly on American or on an American airline, you're like,
But you know why? Because the government heavily subsidizes.
Yeah. It's not organically better. But
Miranda, this is more than just flight upgrades, though, right? I want to be clear. The indictment is deeper than just flying first class. Yeah.
Yeah, free hotels, discounted luxury hotels, meals, entertainment. He wanted to live like a billionaire, And it's this very similar pattern with Joe Biden. Wants to live a lifestyle that he can't personally afford and that his salary doesn't give him. And so he's just very susceptible to being bribed and duchessed by people who want favors. And the problem is, once you go down that track, you really become beholden to your benefactors, and they ratchet up the pressure and they want more and more. And you know, it's so cheap, really. I know that it's expensive. I mean, like $12,000 upgrades on his trip to India, $41,000 to France, Turkey, and China. You know, it's not chicken feed, but by the same token, you're selling your soul. You're becoming corrupt. You'd think that you'd maybe want to get more money than that. And then, of course, his campaign getting, you know, cash funds, which are sort of falsely put through the books, laundered in a different way. So I don't know. It just seems pathetic that you would sell your soul for a first grade ticket. You know, we all like traveling first class if we ever got the opportunity to do it. Of course, it's much nicer than coach. But honestly, I think it would be much better for him and for everybody else if he just remained humble. And I think he's going to have the book thrown at him.
Well, speaking of the book, everyone should get a different book thrown at them. It's called The Big Guy by Miranda Devine, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. Miranda, I would like to have you back on sometime soon to discuss that book. And the other question I was going to ask, but we're out of time, isn't it interesting? Eric Adams gets indicted for first-class flights, but, you know, we don't yet have that big Biden indictment for selling out the country for cash. It's interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll just say one more thing, which is that John Katzmatidis, who is the New York billionaire and owner of Gristedes and owner of WABC Radio, great guy. You know, he should be interim mayor. I don't think that there's so many problems besetting New York at the moment. Eric Adams is going to be totally distracted. So, and I think John Katzmatidis has shown an interest in doing that. So if he could step in, he could
great
fix all
mayor.
the problems.
He's a great mayor.
Wouldn't he be great?
He'd be a phenomenal mayor. I know his son. They'd be terrific.